No Game, No Life, Volume 6, Chapter 2, Part 4. 1 times 1 equals reckless. Prompted by the noise, his consciousness slowly resurfaced. Riku! I know you must be tired, but I've got... Words followed, and the sound of the door opening. Oh my! Excuse me. Your sister can be a bit dense like that. Take your time. Footsteps pattered away as the door closed. What? Deciding he should probably figure out what was going on, Riku drummed up his energy to raise his heavy eyelids and made eye contact with Shui lying on top of him, nestled under the blanket, staring. Might I inquire as to why you are on top of me? How long had he been asleep? Wait, it didn't really matter. After they'd just been discussing whether he'd kill her or not, what the hell was she? You told me to stay where you could see me, but then you closed your eyes. And so, somehow looking proud, probably just Riku's imagination, she elaborated. I've projected the unspoken meaning of where I can see you as in the range of my perception. Huh? And then the sense of touch is active, even in sleep. I determined that this would enable perception. Apparently, very confident in her conclusion, she looked at him vaguely, as if to say, Praise me for grasping the abstract meaning of a human. Riku furrowed his brow intensely. I just meant don't leave this room. You see now? Cannot comprehend. Shui opened her eyes to their fullest and muttered, Closing eyes is incompatible with the parameter where I can see you. Shui seemed perplexed when Koron's voice interjected. Oh, come to think of it, sorry to bother you while you're doing it, but we're not doing it. What do you want? Well, you see, I was thinking maybe you two ought to take a bath. Especially Sui. She must have been through a lot. If you want, I was thinking Big Sister could even help wash Shui. At this, Riku shot a look at Shui. Go with the flow. Properly this time. As if fully grasping Riku's meaning this time, Shui nodded firmly and answered, Riku told me not to show my body to anyone else. Maybe he should have gone ahead and killed her after all. Riku's head swam. There was a smirk in the tone of Koron's response. Oh goodness. It seems he has already broken you, hasn't he? My little brother is such a fast worker. Koron, please, I beg you. Just shut up or go take care of Sri. I got everyone else away from the bath, so now's your chance. Stop doing that! Koron, hooking just her hands to the door and jamming her right index finger through a circle she'd formed with the fingers of her left hand, dashed away like a storm. The exhausted Riku and his rider, Shui, were left in her wake. You about ready to get off of me? As Shui obediently disengaged from him, Riku considered the situation. There was no point in saying anything anymore. It had now been established that he was a pedophile who had broken a war refugee. But He decided it was better than people knowing he'd brought back an ex machina. Are you cool with eating and bathing and stuff? To keep her ex machina identity a secret, she'd have to go some way toward mimicking a human. But... You mean, can I act like a human? How's it you can get what I mean here and not? Riku wondered if she was doing it on purpose, but incapable of determining the thought process of the ex machina, she decided to table the issue for now. I don't require food. There is no need to waste resources, which are valuable to humans. Was she weighing their circumstances? No, he didn't know. Tabled. But if you don't eat anything, people will suspect you. Let's just say you don't eat much. You can eat, right? But only decompose it. No utility. I'll eat less to cover it. Our net food situation won't change, so... Giving Shui no time to argue, we can move to the next point. What about water? No issue. I am waterproof, dustproof, frostproof, fireproof, bulletproof, bombproof, spellproof, spiritproof. You damn psychos. So as for the bath, we're just gonna pretend. But I am not stain-proof. Even though you're bomb-proof, isn't that what you call a design flaw? If I could use spirits, I could use my self-cleaning device. But you told me not to. Shui rebutted with a somehow, apparently, sullen expression. Damn it. I guess we're just gonna have to go whole hog. Let's take advantage of Koran's misunderstanding and the fact no one will be around. And you'll wash me? Shui, nodding deeply and saying this as a statement. Riku clutched his head. Where do you get that? You're not a kid, right? Get in by yourself. But Shui raised fingers to make some very logical points. One, if no one is around, and I bathe, it is most efficient for you to bathe as well. 2, I cannot wash all my parts without my self-cleaning device. I have never done so. And 3, I can predict the reason you reject this. It is because my childish appearance is not sexually... Alright already. Let's go. Whipping up his heavy body that complained it needed more sleep, Riku stood. There was no way he could out-reason a machine. A red-hot stone was dropped into the water-filled cauldron. Immediately, the small bathing room filled with thick, hot steam. The etiquette was to use the steam to elicit a sweat to get the grime off before finally getting in the water to refresh themselves. But sweat wasn't going on Sui's feature list, so Riku ran a rag in the tepid water in the cauldron to clean off the mud and dust that caked her mechanical parts. When he studied them up close, their complex intricacy stole his breath. He'd seen some of the tools of Dwarf that manipulated spirits mechanically, but seeing Shui's exposed inside equipment, he couldn't even guess what it did. But that was how he knew it was fearsomely sophisticated. Riku, do you have a machine fetish? Why is it such a sophisticated piece of machinery only has such off-the-mark assumptions and over-the-line knowledge? Shui responded to Riku's chagrined tone, as if defending herself. I am unable to project human thoughts due to the heart's a computational singularity. Having reached a conversational impasse, the only sound was the dripping water. To break the silence, perhaps, Shui suddenly suggested, Riku, let's play a game in the bath? What for? Because I'm bored. Shui mentioning a concept she clearly didn't understand with a question mark after it made Riku chuckle. Well, I don't mind. But you can't use spirits, alright? What about the board? As if to say she'd come prepared. Well, no. It'd probably been her plan all along. Shui produced the chessboard hidden in her cast-off robe. Huh. Fine. But we'll be playing while I wash your hair, so no time limits, okay? With a sigh, Riku grinned sheepishly and put his hand on a white pawn. Look, you. I'm washing your hair at the same time, so go easy on me. Scrubbing her hair with his left hand, Riku racked his brain so hard he couldn't believe it and groaned. At this, Shui slowly and softly whispered, I'm sorry. For what? Nah, he knew, but still hated himself for it. He joked, I examined the data after that. But Shui, incapable of understanding such subtleties of the heart, expressed her regret. For an aggressor to ask a victim about the heart was illogical. No valid data results. Aggressor and victim. Riku was surprised hearing those terms from just a machine. At the same time, for some reason, he felt a strange self-loathing for thinking just a machine and tried to paper it over. I see. But the real thing is that's what they call being insensitive. I am not human, but I do have sensory pathways. That's not what I mean. Riku sighed with a smile as Shui continued seriously. But still, I had no ulterior motive. I really want to know about your heart. It's true. Just his imagination? It wasn't, Riku decided. Responding to Shui's downcast, wavering, sad tone, he sighed. Don't worry about it. I was getting a little over-emotional myself. It's weird, but... Riku reviewed the feelings he'd been unable to hold in check. What he'd done could never be justified. He knew that all too well. Be that as it may, though, it was a cold, hard fact that she was one of humanity's oppressors. Apologize to her? It was utterly absurd. But, he thought, not apologizing now would be even more absurd. In fact, he had to admit that something had been wrong with with him. Normally, he could control himself, but at that moment, suddenly, he couldn't. It couldn't have just been something Shui said. So why? As Rico struggled to make sense of it, Shui asked blankly, "Is getting emotional bad?" "Yeah, getting emotional, like getting carried away in anger and hitting you, wouldn't solve anything." "But you want to hit me." "It's a figure of speech." "Wait, is it?" "Honestly, I don't even know myself." Again, their conversation broke. The sound of the water and its fragments, the hot steam, made his head light. The silence continued for a while, until it was broken again by Shui. "Riku, why do you close your heart? Look, are you actually sorry? You ever heard of tact?" He started to yell, but as Shui's red, glass-bead eyes peered into his, he stopped. A machine without a heart, leaving aside the matter as to whether this was the case, wouldn't be malicious. Something told him she really just wanted to know about him. Not rational, calculating, cold, fake Riku, but the valuable research subject, the real Riku with the heart. Frank? Feeling his lock opening, he sighed. "Because that's the only way I can survive this world." If he closed his eyes, he could see what lay beyond the cave, as if it were burned into his eyelids. The sky scorched red, the earth piled with blue death, the sight extending beyond the horizon. Going outside without a mask was enough to end one's life. A world of death, or perhaps one that had already died. "Is it our fault?" "I don't know." Riku really didn't know anymore. No, actually. It doesn't even matter whose fault it is. It's just what we have to face. For a human to exist in this world, we've got to close our hearts, or else they break. In a world like this, it's just unreasonable. Unreasonable? Unreasonable. What's unreasonable? What? Riku almost scoffed at Shui's soft mumbling, but... oh, it was true, he realized. If you really looked at it logically, rationally, there was nothing unreasonable about it. It was just... the strong live, and the weak die, with no meaning or purpose. That's just how the world is made. I think feeling that's unreasonable may be what the heart is. I'm not sure, though. With a feeling something like resignation, Riku washed Shui's hair. "I want to know about your heart, but..." Shui muttered. "I don't want to hurt you, what should I do? The way she put the question to him, making him feel somehow uncertain, Riku asked, "Why are you worrying about me? If you just want to know about the heart, then you can just push ahead like you did." "I'm sorry. Ah, I'm not trying to rehash at all, but it's true, right? Why should you care about..." She shouldn't. If it was someone else, she might have to worry about losing communication. She didn't have to care for him. In fact, pushing him would get his real feelings out. "I don't know." Riku furrowed his brow at the machine girl's first ambiguous answer. "I don't know, but I want to avoid harm to you." You mean your subject needs to be in as natural a state as possible in order for you to obtain accurate data? Half teasing, Riku delivered this conjecture in his most logical and bureaucratic voice. But no, I don't think so. And I don't know why. But for some reason, Shui lowered her face and answered, her voice subtly tremulous. "That was really unpleasant." His doubt turned to conviction. Riku's judgment upon first encountering Shui had been spot on. His ex-machina girl, Shui, was broken. Clearly out of order. What she just said, whether she knew it or not, was a clear assertion that she'd been hurt. A machine? One who herself claimed that she didn't know the heart? Hey, to begin with, your cluster disconnected you and discarded you, right? He'd even heard why. The details. She'd caused a self-referential paradox, a breakdown of logic. Was she really herself? What made her herself? Without the fuzzy heart of a human, the problem would be difficult to avoid. That she'd be discarded. It was harsh to say, but it was no wonder. Still. So, you want to analyze the heart, whatever it takes, so you can get back to your cluster. What difference does it make if you harm? I'm not trying to go back. Wait. But then, who ordered you to analyze the heart? I was just interested and decided myself. Interested? Hey, that feeling, that's the heart, isn't it? We froze at Riku's puzzled mumbling. I don't know. Pardon? What? I don't know. You make sense, but it doesn't seem important to me. Why is it? You're asking me? Shui's deadpan query made Riku's face contort involuntarily. Suddenly, Shui, list of possible answers, began positing. I don't care. All I need is you. I'm not interested. It's meaningless. It doesn't matter. I reject synchronization. I prioritize analysis. I prioritize understanding over analysis. Error, 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 error. Hey. You've got smoke coming out. Hey! Seeing Shui's vent exhausting with a hiss, Riku lost his cool. It lasted for only a few seconds, though. Shui swung around, looked at Riku, and nodded once. Conclusion. I don't want to go back. Apparently. Wishy-washy, aren't you? Cannot identify basis. But apparently, I don't. Wishy-washy, aren't you? Finding it funnier and funnier, Riku smirked and repeated himself, only to hear. That aside, checkmate. Oh. Damn you. I was totally distracted by that conversation. One more time. After all that, the ex machina's nodding face made Riku wonder. Is it possible to create a smile so innocent through calculation and mimicry? By the way, moving on. Riku sighed tiredly. Your hair. It's too damn long. This takes forever. My head's going mushy from the heat. If you prefer it short, I'll cut it. No, it's fine, really. Seriously, you are so out there. Grumbling, Riku rebuked himself. I know. She was, after all, an ex machina, capable of killing a human without even thinking about it. Just like the other races, she trampled his kind any number of times. He could, by no means, let down his guard. His reason screamed this at him. But then why? The girl who kept considering the length of her hair didn't look logical at all. Spontaneously, he smiled faintly. How long had it been since Shui entered the village? It was impossible to say precisely, since they didn't have an exact calendar. But according to Shui, it had been approximately 1 year. Riku thought it had gone by too fast, considering that just surviving a few days felt like eternity. Hey, how many old day are there? Playing chess with Shui in his cramped room, Riku rested his cheek in his hand crossly. Theoretically, there are infinite, proportional to the number of concepts. But in many cases, their activation conditions have not been satisfied. Riku frowned at the murky answer and at Shui's move. With a sigh at her single gambit that countered and crushed the orthodox strategy he'd envisioned, he began concocting his new plan and continued. So, the old day, There's the god of war and the god of the forest and stuff, right? As Riku remarked to himself, not that they're actually doing anything different. It's all just war. Shui nodded. The former is Artosh, the creator of the flugel. The latter is Kainos, the creator of elves. But Riku interrupted her, a repartee of words and moves. As the pedestrian move he'd come up with next was immediately overturned, Riku remembered something. The feeling of trying over and over, making what seemed like the best moves again and again, and being surpassed. The boy with the bold grin, whom he'd seen in the darkness as a child, the one he could never beat. Hey, there isn't the god of games, is there? It was just a passing thought. It wasn't like there was anything to do about it. But Shui answered seriously. There is, but Ether not found. Activation conditions assumed, not satisfied. In this approximate year, he'd sure come a long way in getting used to talking to Shui. He could chuckle to himself. He didn't know the details, but basically, it was like this. Old day were concepts. As long as the concept of games existed, the god of games definitely existed. But the presence of their activation conditions, of this ether, determined whether or not the god was real. So, basically, you're saying he's not around. At least, not now. Checkmate. Adding yet another mark to his loss tally, Riku sighed and stood. You know, I've been thinking of saying this for a while, but you don't have to talk like that when we're alone. But it's as if my thought vocalization core has been modified irreversibly. Apparently. And in words a human can understand? I can't go back, apparently. Wishy-washy, aren't you? He teased as usual, offhandedly and grinning, and Riku and Shui left the room together. The atmosphere of the village they saw as they walked had changed. Looking at Shui walking beside him, Riku had to admit it. Since she'd joined them, the means at their disposal had expanded greatly. Thanks to her help with calculation and design, which they hadn't even asked for, the precision of their measurements and reconnaissance had improved. The performance of Korn's telescope had been further enhanced, and their inefficient dairy farming had progressed somewhat. The need for scouting had dramatically lessened, and stockpiling food had become feasible. Because of that. Hey, Riku! You spending the day all sweet and slippery in your room with your wife again? I told you she's not my wife, Baldy. Go spend the rest of your life squinting into that telescope. Shui, thank you so much for the other day when you played with my children. Clearly, the village had more smiles. As long as she was here, they could live without fearing death. But this sight cast a faint shadow over Riku's expression. He knew this was only a temporary peace, the calm before the storm. This ephemeral interval would vanish like dust with a single unconscious fancy from one of the so-called gods above them. Perhaps forgetting this fact was a blessing, to live bathed in temporary tranquility. But it would disappear. Maybe tomorrow, maybe today, maybe even now. Were he and Shui giving them too much hope? Riku frowned. But what were they supposed to do? Pretend they didn't see the despair? Believe that they were safe here? And live until someday the war ended? Riku wondered. At the very least, it was impossible for him. "Oh, General, take a break from playing with your wife's crotch for a second and give me a hand with this water leak I've got." If you want me to hit you, just say so. I'll lend you my fist all you want. As Riku rolled up his sleeve with a strange smile, turning to the origin of this hail, Shui stood alone, left behind, awaiting Riku's return as if she'd taken root. Shui! Finding herself abruptly embraced, Shui turned wordlessly. There was Koran smiling. What are you doing all alone? You're not going to stay with Riku? He didn't tell me to come with him. Waha! Shui, why don't you ditch that no-good husband of yours and marry me? Forget about that stupid man who'd leave a wife as faithful as you. Riku's not stupid. Koran narrowed her eyes at Shui's little pout. Hey, Shui, I know this is weird for me to ask as his sister, but Riku said she's not really my sister, so ignore her. Ha ha ha. I'm going to have to sock him a good one later. But anyway, clearing her throat loudly as a diversion, Koran asked bluntly, Shui, are you attracted to Riku? Attract? Oh, you. I'm asking what made you like him. Come on, you know. Suddenly, Shui became aware that she was tense. She didn't know why. She thought she'd gotten accustomed to acting human. But now, behind Koran's sudden attitude, she sensed that she was being tested somehow. She thought hard. To begin with, she'd still hardly managed to analyze the heart at all. Consequently, her analysis of the feeling of liking was also incomplete, undefined, so I don't know. Shui decided to answer frankly. I was interested in Riku's heart, his feelings. The day she'd first met Riku passed through Shui's memory core. Something deep in Riku's eyes generated in her a thought no ex machina should have had. A logical error threatening cluster integrity that prompted her disconnection. That was... I see how it is. Koran, as if perceiving something together, casually defined it. You're talking about love at first sight, aren't you? What? That's Riku. It's not like he's smart and his personality comes off like, you know. Koran nodded at Shui, wide-eyed and frozen, and announced with a smile. If you saw through to his real heart to fall in love with him, yep, I can trust you with my brother. Love at first sight. Another concept to analyze. Shui thought with fatigue. Love, liking, affection. None of these had been fully analyzed. Now there was the entry, love at first sight, which implied instantaneous occurrence. Could it be that she'd never in her existence be able to analyze the heart? Hey, Koran, are you filling your head with some kind of nonsense again? Returning from his chore, Riku confronted Koran. You're such a cheeky little brother. Cheeky and disrespectful, I declare. When have I ever? You told her I was a boob guy and got her to stick 2 precious loaves of bread in her chest. Is something wrong with your brain, Koran? What cheek? I could not be more right. This girl's going to be my sister one day, you know? So I got to help you enjoy a varied and fulfilled sex. Let's go. Your stupidity's going to rub off on us. Don't get too involved, that chick. IQ is transmissible? Chui's eyes bulged at this new data. Riku pulled her hands to urge her along. Oh, Riku. Where are you going? It's about time I taught her how to gather food, isn't it? I'm gonna show her how to use the scouting equipment and stuff. Of course, this is a lie. An ex machina could knock down a demonia with her bare hands. Moreover, Chui's age, the number of years since her manufacture, was, according to her, 211. It was something he needed Chui's mobility to check out. He just couldn't tell Koran that. I might be out pretty late, but anyway, we're not going far. Koran clapped her hands together with a knowing smile. Oh, you're banging under the blue? Koran, you really should get those brains replaced. Oh, but these days, I guess you'll have to bang under the red? Anyway, it'll be cold, so make sure you shut the hell up. We're going, Shui. Riku peevishly turned away. He probably didn't realize. Only Shui and Koran noticed. Especially Shui. It may be the first time Riku had called her by her name. Her thoughts were filled with undefined errors. She detected a rise in her chase's temperature. But Shui tagged the memory top priority and, without knowing why, saved and protected its contents.